There are these theories out there that say we're kind of like an acorn, that there's a blueprint inside each of us that will eventually become a unique oak tree, whether we do anything or not.
That is an hour conversation in itself. Something is affecting you, right? We know that we exist. Like, that's the only thing you really know, is that right now you are thinking about something, right? Everything else is theoretical. Original ideas are the magic and the seed of art and storytelling. AI doesn't have original ideas yet.
It can put a combination of things together in a creative way that I wouldn't have thought of. But it's not, like you said, there's not some random seed origination that's outside of the bounds of what we're already discussing. Like you and I, like right now, I could just change the subject. Just go, hey, have you ever been to Portugal?
There's a love among human beings and connection and shared experience, and AI is not there yet, and I don't know when it will get there, if ever.
Hey guys, I'm Aubrey. On this show, we explore the intersection of mysticism, technology, art, and transpersonal experience. I'm an entrepreneur, author, and cosmic advisor, covering human consciousness and the larger forces shaping our collective destiny. Welcome to The Infinite Drop. Hey guys, today I'm in a different set. As you can tell, I'm here in Los Angeles, and I'm really excited. I am joined today by Will Hawks. He is an actor, writer, producer, and co-founder of Kindred Films. And his latest project, The Last Ranger, is a live-action short film about rhino conservation in South Africa. And it earned an Oscar nomination for Best Live Action Short this year. I wanted to talk with Will today because he's been navigating the world of film for decades. And he's participated in the industry in a lot of different ways. He's an actor, writer, producer. I'm sure he's done a million other things in the industry. It's such a creative field, and with AI affecting all areas of the movie industry, I wanted to learn a little bit more. So, Will, welcome to The Infinite Drop.
Thank you, Aubrey. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we've known each other forever. I'm really excited. I guess I never envisioned that a day like this would happen, but it seems kind of natural now that we're sitting here. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess I'll give a little bit of background. We've known each other since we were 19, 20 years old. So I've kind of watched your progression, like your creative progression through film over all these years. And it was just really quite an astounding and wonderful thing to hear that, the project you'd been working on was nominated for an Oscar. So yeah, out of all the millions of people that come to Hollywood over the years to sort of make it for themselves, you're one of that small group of people who have actually, made it all the way up to being Oscar nominated, like a project you've worked on. So I used ChatGPT, and it said that over the last 97 years that the Academy has been doing the awards show, it's estimated that only about 5,182 films have ever been nominated. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a stat, I guess.
Yeah. So first, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, we've known each other since we were 19, 20, running all the way back to college. I remember helping you out from time to time on some of your film projects for school. I'd run film back to the Kodak labs, and we'd test it and look at it. And I would just love if you could start the show off by sort of talking about that progression from, when you started, when it was film, like actual film strips for people that don't know, like canisters of film. And then it went to digital, and now we're at streaming. So I don't know if you want to maybe talk about kind of that progression, or how you've seen some of those things change as the technology has shifted.
Yeah, maybe just a little overview of my journey, and that journey, just because it's chronological, will start to tell the story of how film has evolved a little bit since I've been involved with it. I was first introduced to filmmaking in high school in a video production class taught by this German professor who landed in our small town of Ukiah in Northern California. And that was, the era of high 8 and tape to tape editing, VHS. And it was a slow process, but it was a ton of fun. We were making skits and short films and skate videos and music videos. And it was a great creative bed for me to fall in love with filmmaking and take the different aspects of drawing and acting and music, a lot of things that I was in love with, and be able to combine those and tell stories. It was the perfect outlet for my brain at the time.
You've always been really creative like that. I mean, since I've known you, it's like, whether it's like you said, drawing or arts or music, your brain really did sort of like take in all of the different ways that someone can be artistic, and you sort of always loved pushing together your whole. I remember I used to think that you made life like art. I would say life as art with you, because every aspect of life, you found a way to make it artistic. So,
thank you. That's a wonderful compliment. Thank you. Even with that background, though, there was I didn't have a friend that had an older brother that was filmmaking in LA or had gone to Hollywood, and it just wasn't even on my radar at all that could be a way that you would live your life. So I just went to college to study, and eventually transferring down to Los Angeles. I had a friend that had moved down here, and he said, "Hey, people are taking film classes here, and it's a thing." And I went, "Oh, I guess that could be." And so I enrolled at LA Valley College, where I met you, and started in AA and filmmaking. And yeah, I mean, this was 99 and 2000, I think. And we were editing reel to reel, 16 millimeter film, 32 millimeter, splicing and gluing. And, it was a real hands-on affair at that point. But the storytelling was the same. You think of an idea, or you're inspired by a part of life, and you have a question about it, or you want to explore it, or you have an idea or a take on it that feels like it's yours, and you want to share that, and you figure out a way to make it dramatic or interesting, and that part hasn't changed through the technology. But even then, as you know, I still didn't. It wasn't like, I'm going to be a cinematographer. I'm waking up every day and I'm shooting, or I need to write every single day, or I have to act. I didn't have one of those specific roles in filmmaking that was calling me. And so I transferred to UCLA and was a poli-sci major. I thought I was going to go to law school or work on a campaign. And it was, just after 9/11, and it was a very politically charged time. And I was traveling to Europe and working on a documentary about the politics of what was going on and involved in UCLA. And that just seemed like where my trajectory was going to be. And then I took an acting class, not there, but one at Stella Adler. I think it was a long conversation with my brother saying, look, this is where my life's going, but I still have this pull. There's some kind of thread that's still, tickling me, or needs a scratch, an itch. And he said, well, why don't you rule it out? Why don't you just go commit and take a series of classes and see how you feel, and rule it out so you don't have to think about it anymore. And I did that. And pretty quickly, I knew my life was going to go into another direction. So whether I like it or not. Yeah,
you're actually leading into a question I was going to ask a little bit later on, but I'll jump in now. Was that your brother? Was it Drew or Corey that kind of said?
Corey on that
Corey.
one. I mean, they've both been instrumental in, shaping all of our lives, but it was Corey.
Yeah. So kind of going back to that, you said there's this pull, like it wasn't necessarily the direction your life seemed like it was going when you were at UCLA, but there was something you couldn't ignore. I'm curious your thoughts on free will. There are these theories out there that say we're kind of like an acorn, right? And that there's a blueprint inside each of us that will eventually become a unique oak tree, whether we do anything or not. An acorn just, it's there and things happen and it becomes the tree it's meant to be. Do you believe that we all have some sort of inner daemon or like guide pulling us to a pre-foretold destiny? Or do you think it's free will? Like, was it always foretold that, The Last Ranger, your film, was going to be Oscar nominated and you'd be part of it?
That is an hour conversation in itself. It's a wonderful question, and I do think about that sometimes. The conversation is a lot as nature versus nurture. What is your heritage, your ancestral influences, your chemical makeup versus the environment that you grew up in? And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe both of them affect who you are, your decision making, your emotional reaction, the triggers you have, and what you know that you have is your consciousness moment to moment. And whether you're 99% influenced by other things, or you're 100, or you're 50%, there's 50% free will, you should still make moral choices that feel good in the moment. And you should still make choices that align with your belief system. Mm-hmm. And I think good is still a maxim, like there's still, like, even if you're taking it statistically, like saving 100 children versus saving 50 children is a good thing. So do like volunteer or give money to nonprofits that help make good decisions, create art that you think aligns with your belief system. And
do you think I'm zooming outside of like nature versus nurture? I'm going higher, like even higher than that. Do you believe that there's something, regardless of your nature, regardless of your nurture, community, or genes, do you think there is something that sort of up in the ether, that was pinging something into your mind to say, take that acting class at Stella Adler? Or do you believe it was just a combination of nature and nurture?
I guess it's the definition of nature, because to me, nature would include what you're talking about.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whether, you believe that the universe is random or in chaos, or you believe it's designed or a combination, or whatever, multiple universes that you believe in, something is affecting you, right? We know that we exist. Like, that's the only thing you really know, is that right now you are thinking about something, right? Everything else is theoretical.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I'm saying act within what you know. And if you feel things are aligned, or you're getting those pings, then incorporate that into your decision making. Yeah. I don't know how much is free will. It feels like we have it, but I acknowledge that we're being influenced a ton by what you're talking about, either a higher connection to something that's in our unconsciousness, or just how we're made, or just how we grew up and who we're around.
Yeah. Well, with your film, The Last Ranger, it was part of a planned anthology series. You and your partner, Darwin, kind of thought up this idea during 2020. We were all locked down, and the anthology series is called When the World Stopped. And the idea is to tell 24 stories by 24 different filmmakers around the world, kind of showing some of the issues that were affecting them locally, and how those issues, were being impacted by the lockdowns, or exacerbated, by the upheaval. When do you first remember understanding the idea of how storytelling relates to like playing a role in connecting people to global issues outside of their community? Like, when's the first time you remember being like, oh, storytelling?
That's interesting. One of the first times, I've always been a fan of film. I remember my mom talking about acting when I was really young. Like, oh, that actor is good, right? Because when you're a child, you believe films. Like, that is happening, right? And there's at some point you start to realize, wait, this is being created. She was the first person to say, no, this is being created, but that person's good at creating. This is a quality creation that's more truthful or honest or impactful. And so I was aware of that as a fan of film at a pretty young age. I remember seeing Schindler's List in high school, and it was something that they showed us. It wasn't something that I went out and saw, but it was something that, teachers or administration said, this is an important issue that you should think about. There was also the Koyana Skatsu. I think it's Koyana Skatsi. Maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but there's a series. They also did one called Human and Baraka. I don't know if you've seen those documentaries.
No, I haven't.
They're little snippets from different communities around the world, kind of a documentary in slow motion. Just have a camera sitting there on different human beings and from different cultures. And I remember that was also shown at a pretty young age and opened my mind to an issue or a part of the world or a point of view that I wasn't being exposed to otherwise. I think that was the first time, and I've been drawn to films that balance telling a story that's engaging and powerful and emotional, makes me feel about something that I want to think about an issue, either advocating for something or asking a question about something. I think there's a real alchemy there that a filmmaker, a piece of art. I mean, if you're looking at a painting that's about a point of view or, is saying something versus a painting that's of a field or a boat, and that could be communicating a part of human existence or a part of the world around us. There's another layer when it's commenting on our world or our society, or that has a point of view in that way, that adds a layer of depth or meaning to me, that it's just another anchor that connects me to it.
You sort of grew up, I think, in an environment, like that kind of perfect storm environment. It's like you just have such a creative family, and they are involved in community and civics. And so it's kind of like, now that I'm asking the question, that storytelling maybe is just something that you always, or at least from a young age, maybe knew was a powerful way to communicate things that are happening, at least in your environment or the world around you, and to share that with other people to raise awareness for it.
I think that did shape my transition from acting into filmmaking. Absolutely. I have always been grateful for every acting job that I've been cast in or landed, and proud of that. But at some point I wanted a little bit more agency over the stories that I was putting out into the world. And that's why I started writing more and directing and producing. And I think that is aligned with having a family that was politically and socially active, obviously, running nonprofits and working for public service. I think that's just a part of life. You serve your community and you engage with your community, and you try to create either policy or something physical in the world that is doing good, I guess.
Yeah.
And that's why when Darwin called me, the third week in lockdown, and said, like, this is a unique thing that we're all going through around the world. Let's tell some stories about it. And I immediately was like, yes, absolutely, we need to. I don't want to sit here and be a passive passenger in this major global event. And so we started reaching out through casting directors and filmmaking friends. And he's from the UK. Through my wife, I have a connection through South Africa and Greater Africa. And we both traveled extensively, and through our acting connections to different filmmakers, we reached out, and by word of mouth, we had over 150 submissions to the When the World Stopped anthology series that you were talking about. 24 stories from 24 communities, set to the backdrop of the social and cultural upheaval during the pandemic in 2020. Those first few months of this unknown experience where the whole world was facing the same direction, thinking about the same problem on the same side, before it got political, before it got into other issues where it didn't personally interest me as much. It was that real universal connection and a specific timestamp to look down in and examine human beings and communities and families all around the world at that time. This really seemed special and unique, and a great way to thread together our story of humanity at that time.
I remember almost right when you guys started working on it, you reached out and we were, you were sharing the idea, we were talking about it, and I thought this is such a good idea. And then over the months and the years, it's like the project just kept getting, not bigger, but just expanded bigger, bigger, expanded, and more people hearing about it. And just what a great decision by the two of you to really say, yeah, let's go ahead and do something while the world stopped. Let's do something. And it seems like such a short, while you're in it, I'm sure it feels like a long amount of time. You're like every day, hours a day, but in a relatively short amount of time to go from nothing, especially at a time when we're told the world stopped, we all have to pause, and you guys say, we're not going to pause, we're actually going to go. Mm-hmm. And you do that, and then literally within between 4 to 5 years, now you're at the Academy Awards, being recognized for excellence in film. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we were lucky that we were connected so quickly with so many beautiful and talented writers and filmmakers. Pretty quickly, we were on multiple Zooms a day, breaking down stories and scripts in different languages, sometimes through interpreters.
What's really cool is that now that you're saying this, when, from what was it, like spring 2020, at least through that year, and I think if I'm remembering right, into 2021, it's like everyone was home, and it's almost like all this, there was like a creative surge. It was like all the projects that people had said, I'll get to another time, I'll get to another day. Either their work was kind of paused, or they now had more time at home, social things were paused. And I myself started, nothing like this, but I started, I just offered a free class online. I was like, well, I might as well do something. And I know some people started painting or creating art. And so it's really cool, the whole title, When the World Stopped. And then for you guys going out into these communities and telling, like The Last Ranger, the rhino conservation in South Africa, like beautiful storytelling, like cinematically speaking. Your industry, the film industry, you've been here in Hollywood 25 years maybe, and you've kind of gone through and seen it all. I remember you and your wife. Your wife is a beautiful songstress and actress. And I remember sitting with the two of you, this was years ago. You guys were talking about how social media, like the proliferation of social media, was changing your industry. And I remember you guys were both kind of sharing how acting, the way it had started affecting things was that acting roles were starting to be determined by another metric outside of what they had previously been determined by. You may have a relationship with the casting director. There was some nepotism, things like that, right? But then it started to be really important, like how many social media followers you had. And that added just like another almost barrier to have to get over as an actor or as someone in this community, even musicians, all different types of people working on film. That seemed to be something that was really important. And there may be some times when not necessarily the best person for the job was getting it, but the person who could bring the most eyeballs to the project. How do you think these kind of like technological shifts, like the one I just explained, how do you think that influences the kind of stories that get told?
It's interesting. First of all, yes, that occurred. What you were talking about, I remember that conversation. I feel like I had, only a handful of years at the beginning of my acting career. That was still the tail end of the traditional model of, they were still shooting, mostly on film. The process was different. It was slower. It was more expensive. Less people could participate. There was, I think, the roles that each person played, including actors, it was more siloed. So if you were an actor, your relationship was strictly with the casting director, right? That was your access point into film. And it was just on your craft, like just being, and you could focus on being an actor and just that skill and trying to get jobs through a casting director into a film or a TV show. And that's how you got to work. And then as digital came, and then social media, and the cost of filmmaking came down, I think people, or especially actors and all artists, need to have other skills in order to make it. It was like when the barrier to entry changed, you needed to learn other skills. You needed to be more of an entrepreneur. You had to learn filmmaking. We started filming our auditions at home. You had to learn editing. There was an availability to create digital content on social media, short films on YouTube. You could make your own films now. So if you were just sitting back and waiting around for an audition, there were less traditional auditions as the unions started to lose power. But there were more opportunities outside of that traditional flow or system, which provides some people an opportunity. Some people are born entrepreneurs and are good Renaissance men and women where they have skills in a lot of different areas they can. And I think some of the people that were just focusing on acting kind of lost a step, and it forced you to learn these other skills and advocate for yourself to get work and create your own work, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Right? I'm sure there's talented actors that just aren't getting opportunities because they're just really good at acting and they're not good at this other stuff. But there's other people that stepped in and took the initiative and created a place for them in the marketplace and in the system. So it's not necessarily bad or good. It's just different and shifting, like all things, right? Change is the only thing that's inevitable.
What's crazy, now that you're saying that, I hadn't really thought of that change. Like back in the day, it's like there are people that just knew how to light the room. There were editors, there were people that understood sound, and there were people that understood which camera to use to make it funnier. Like, is it funnier if they're right here? Or like, what if we just see this side and like the eyebrow moving? And then, so everyone had that role. And then pretty soon, I mean, I don't know enough to know how all the roles changed, but at least for the talent, it's like then being able to kind of, you've watched those things or you've learned them or absorbed them, and then you start trying to do it for yourself. And now we're at the point where almost everyone is an actor. Everyone is a reality star on social media. And even I mean, in the past years ago, I went on a trip and I was in a very odd situation over a weekend. And I was trapped in a hotel in a blizzard, and I was bored. And I ended up creating like a mini movie over the entire weekend. And I was using like a Snapchat filter for my voice. And I was filming little clips in the hotel and like who I was meeting. And I was making it like Eloise at her hotel. Like I was trapped in this hotel and I would splice it. But I was doing all of these things that somehow we, as a generation or as a society, we've been exposed to enough media that you start to learn those things. But that is something that, like, now that you're saying that, I'm like, gosh, now we're all kind of doing that in the content that we put out and we produce and how we represent ourselves.
Well, media has been democratized for better or worse, right? There was a few journalists that had access to media. We had 3 channels when we were kids.
Dan Rather.
And then remember when Fox came around, when a 4th channel came around in the late 80s, early 90s. Remember The Simpsons was the first show, then Married with Children.
Oh, yeah.
That was on Fox. Fox didn't exist before that. It was just ABC, NBC, and CBS. And now think about the thousands of channels through social media and podcasts and YouTube and cable, right? Cable went to hundreds, and now it's, our attention is being fractured in all these different ways. And, it feels like social media is it feels like there's some harm. There's some good because more people got a voice, right? You don't just have those traditional voices. But when there was just a handful of voices and there was regulation over it, there had to be some trust, right? There had to be fact checking. If you said something that wasn't truthful, you had to issue an apology, either on air or in your printed publication. Now with podcasts and with, all this other media on social media, not only is there no fact checking, the algorithms are promoting things that are not true. People are more likely to respond to something that's negative or theoretical or untrue or
sensationalized.
Yeah, sensationalized, exactly, or charged. So it's fracturing our attention. I can feel mine. Like, I'm a huge fan of film. I work in film. Film has influenced my life and directed the destiny of my life. I'm watching less movies than I used to, right? I'm in this medium that is in a recession, or it's I wouldn't say it's dying because it's just changing, but less younger people are going out and watching films. More people are watching it from their house, and more people are watching films in the background while they're on their phone. I have to put my phone down to watch a movie, and I'm a filmmaker and I love film. So think about the people who kind of like film or don't, right? There's this,
do you know what I'm starting to find is that I can't really recall the last film I watched, but I'll tell you, I love watching television shows that look like movies, but they're in like 40-minute chunks. So I can choose, like, it's almost like a pause. Like all of the new TV series, the production value seems to be like a movie. And you see actors that I'm like, oh, they're a movie star, but they're all on TV now. And these TV series, it's almost like a movie that goes for 12 hours, but it's chopped up. Is that?
It's odd, isn't it? Like the commitment of people aren't going out on dates, right? You hear about statistics of young people aren't dating, or, the good things is they're not drinking or doing drugs as much. They're not, teenage pregnancy is down, but also just like kids being with each other, dating is down. Like, that's not as good, right? Like you just don't want them to date. It's like, yes, we don't want teenage pregnancy, but also you want them to like hook up and date, right? You want kids to have an adventure and live a life, and like, where's the balance? So people are starting going out to the theater.
Oh my God, your face. I'm sorry, your face was hysterical.
But we're watching stuff at home in our own time, in our own safe cocoon. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe that's just the evolution of humanity. Maybe it's like Wall-E. We're all going to be sitting in our little motorized golf cart bubble, like strapped in, like watching a screen and drinking big gulps or whatever, disconnected from everybody else.
I mean, you look around, that's already happening.
It is happening in a weird way. And are kids going to get sick of social media? Are we going to change out of it and go, man, remember the late 2020s, or, the late 20 teens and early when we just were like on social media all the time? What a wild time that was. I remember it's going to change in some way, and it might exponentially go that way or veer off into something else. I remember hearing an interview with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they were asking him about the influence of social media and what it's like. What does he think it's going to turn into, and what the effect is going to be? And he said, compound growth is so unpredictable. He said, when you first invent something, what it's going to turn into is so exponentially farther along and more grand than you can think of. There's no way to predict it. And he cited a New York Times article that was asking, at the turn of the 20th century, so from the 1900s to the 20th century.
Don't say the 1900s like that. Don't ever do that again.
No, wait, I actually, the way I said that.
It's the 21st century.
Is the 21st. No, this was the 1800s to the 1900s. That's why my brain was mashing it together.
I hate when people say the 1900s.
And I didn't mean to.
No, because it makes me feel so old.
I totally understand, and I apologize equally. floored me. But yeah, it was the late 1800s. It was 1900 basically. And it was this article saying, look, the Industrial Revolution is this thing that's just happening. Where do you think technology is going to evolve and change into in the 20th century? And these were the top engineers, top scientists, top educators saying, you know, where is engineering going to be? And they said, I think there's going to be like a really fast bicycle. And someone else was saying, okay, steam engines are going to, you know, be faster than we think. And there's going to be steam engines in every small town. And we're going to have these small, they could only imagine where technology was and where that could go, but not where technology would go. We were in 30 years, we were in the air flying with the Wright brothers. And in 60 years, we were on the fucking moon. And these guys thought we were going to have a faster bicycle. The top engineers in 1900. Does that make sense?
We're so like, screwed right now. We're so
like
screwed.
Where we are
like
with
AI,
social media.
Quantum computing, I'm like, we're screwed.
So just instead of trying to like hold on to every aspect, like you can you can let go and go, it's gonna change and there's gonna be exponential growth into something we can't even imagine. So enjoy the ride. You know, I don't know.
Enjoy the
that's
ride
how I
straight to hell.
Exactly.
The road straight to hell. So you're, oh my God. I can't believe there'll be a fast bicycle. It's like, we're going to the moon, son. We are going to the moon. So this kind of delves into the artificial intelligence part of things now in your industry. And I guess we can talk about your industry or bigger, but do you see these tools that are coming out, these new technologies and platforms? I know they're already being used like right now in film, TV, in entertainment. Kind of in conjunction with what you just said, and maybe also parallel to it, does AI to you feel different or bigger? Then, because you have a very unique perspective, right? When I ask you the daemon question, you're like, it's just happening, be in the present moment. How you just answered that question, you're like, it's here, enjoy the ride. Do you see artificial intelligence and quantum computing's here on our doorstep?
Yeah.
Is it bigger and different than social media and going to the moon and fast bicycles? Or is it just another brick in the road?
It depends on the day of the week you ask me. Right? I can catastrophize. I can be angry at it. I can embrace it. You know, it depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm feeling angry or I'm feeling like I want to embrace something. I mean, AI, even a few years ago before ChatGPT, I was interested in following along with that. I remember programming, you know, with Logo in the 80s when I was, you know, in like third grade.
What is Logo?
Logo is one of the first, you know, like C++ or JavaScript, you know, computer programming. Their Logo was this early one with a little, you could program the directions of a turtle on our early
It sounds like
DOS
Atari,
and Mac screen.
like the Atari.
It was at that time. It was one of the first times where you could create a script and then influence the direction of the animation on your computer screen. One of mine, I'm sure there's more, but that was one of the first ones that I experienced. And I remember just being interested in sci-fi and robots. You know, it's not something that I obsess over or was going to make my life, but I was always curious about it and kind of checking in and reading articles. And I remember my dad and I talking about AI pretty early on, and when artificial general intelligence was going to happen, if it could happen. And it was weird, you know, ChatGPT came on and all of a sudden everybody was thinking about it. It was, like you said, on our doorstep, and more so. I mean, I have a ton of friends that stopped Googling immediately and only use ChatGPT or a sister version of that for all search. It is kind of like the exponential thing. It's coming in really quick and hot in all areas of our life. And I think if a young person wants to succeed in an area maybe they're not even aware of is learning those tools as fast as possible. It's like the kids that learned to program in the 70s and 80s, led the .com boom. That's what this is. We're right there because there's a lot of people that have more experience in all areas of business and technology than a young person coming on the scene. No one has that much more experience with AI. We're all there. It's a few people, right? But
wow, I haven't thought of that before. Wow.
How do you get
it's
ahead?
Like a brand new thing.
It's a brand new thing.
Wow.
We're on a level playing field. So get in there and become the expert at it in some area.
I just had Jonathan Mast on the show, episode 25, I believe. And he spoke a lot. I mean, the premise of the show was how age and wisdom are your best friends with AI because artificial intelligence tools amplify age and wisdom. The better you know how to prompt, the more context you have from the real world, the better able you are to prompt a tool and then get a refined output. When you think about, big question, but when I think about my industry, the different things that I work in, artificial intelligence is helpful to me. It doesn't eradicate my need to be there. With film, do you feel that artificial intelligence, is it different? Can it eradicate? Because the use case I have is that in the past, I have a company, which is true. I have a company. If I needed a promotional film for it, I still to this day would likely hire someone who's really good behind a camera, who understands storytelling in that way, and who can do it for me. There are now tools where I could literally just type. I could even talk to my phone or my computer or type in what I want. I've tried one of them and they have storyboarding where you can put in each frame. And I was like, can you make this kind of look like me on a podcast set, like a silhouette of me? I didn't put a picture of myself and I just described myself. And the little 20-second clip that came out, I was blown away. It was like a movie camera coming in from behind me, like a silhouette. It had my Infinite Drop logo. It went around, it showed a guest laughing. And I was like, this is crazy. Do you think that your industry is one where people will get in and adapt, like you say, like learn the tools and adapt, and then the industry just adapts like it did with social media? Or does it feel different? Does it feel like it could take away?
I think it's going to be both. I think.
Okay.
I heard James Cameron talk about, their digital special effects in his films are
James Cameron, like from Titanic.
And
okay.
Avatar and the sequels to that, and it's so heavily digital, and so much of the economics behind it are to pay for all the people and all the human hours that are going into creating those effects in those worlds, just like Pixar and animated films. I mean, if you've seen the credits, but there's paragraphs and paragraphs of animators and digital effects people. It's not just your traditional film crew. And AI is going to do a lot of those jobs in a faster way very soon than a human being can. There may be a cross of the two graphs, the X and Y, where AI is telling stories that are emotionally engaging as good as human beings are. I think that's a ways off. I've yet to read anything that is from a heavily AI thing that makes me feel anything, right? Even right now, we're at that thing where if you even have, someone write an email or a paper or something, you can tell when it's AI, right? You can go up. No, it's there's little bit. There's a feeling,
it's
right?
a little too polished. It doesn't have like the.
At some point, that feeling's going to go away. But for a while, AI doesn't have original ideas yet, right? It's just scraping off of things that exist. There's no original ideas. Original ideas are the magic and the seed of art and storytelling. And I even think conversation and human relationships, right? It's taking information, filtering it through our experience and our point of view, and making a connection in a way that is a new one, right? All the elements of it are things that you've read and heard in your experience in life, but there's a new idea around it. There's a new connection or a thought that moves it forward, right? It moves, and those big original ideas move our collective consciousness forward. They're the beginning of technological advances. They're beginning of social advances. They're of art, right? Those ideas are yet to be created by AI. Maybe they will be, but I think
it's really interesting. Yeah, even when I'm having a conversation with one of my AI tools, it's a conversation, but it's a conversation with myself.
Yeah.
Because even when I get into a flow and it begins asking me, well, what do you think? Or what if this? It's still just me talking to me. And there's never anything, and it can put a combination of things together in a creative way that I wouldn't have thought of. But it's not, like you said, there's not some random seed origination that's outside of the bounds of what we're already discussing. Like you and I, like right now, I could just change the subject, like right now. Just go, hey, have you ever been to Portugal? And that changes.
You know what, you're sorry, I made that look on my face because you made me think of something. No, it's almost like what you're saying is AI is like the best listener without empathy. It's like the best listener and note taker. So it's listening to you and it's taking perfect notes and bringing out everything that they've read, but it's not actually feeling
it
you.
Pretends. And
yeah, like if you are crying, you're my friend and I'm going to start crying if you start crying, right? And because I feel you. There's
better start crying if I'm crying.
I know, exactly. But you know what I mean?
I'm going to test you later.
You're vibrating in a way that's going to vibrate my cells in a way to make me remember. Yeah. And there's a love there, right? There's a love among human beings and connection and shared experience. And so the AI is not there yet. And I don't know when it will get there, if ever. It probably will, I guess.
And then when it's creating, let's say we put AI to the task to create a film and it's prompted by a human and it's prompted in the best way it can possibly be prompted. I still believe that there are camera angles, millisecond editing cuts, things that are added by humans that just catch you when you see something visually. I've been editing an iMovie for a long time. I edit all my shows. I edit little projects here and there. I love editing on short form, like social media reels. I love doing that. It's very satisfying to me because when I'm watching, there is a feeling inside of me that I am trying to pull up or recreate because I imagine that it will then likely be created in at least some version of people who are taking that in. It's very satisfying to sit there and go, wait a minute, it's like 1 second off. Like you can feel that. And it's something that can only be felt. If I was trying to describe it, I could describe around it.
Yeah.
And you know that. I mean, you're not only a co-producer for The Last Ranger, but you helped write that film. I know you spent a lot of time helping to edit that film. And it's just it's a short live action film, so it's not that long, but the amount of hours and human feelings and awareness around that, all of you coming together. You said something the other day, we were at lunch last week and you, I hope I don't get this wrong, but you said something like just the amount, you're like, people have no idea how many on certain sets, it can be a couple, dozens, hundreds, thousands of people. Sometimes it can take on a set just to get one take right. Like the lighting has to be perfect. Like everything has to be perfect just to nail it and get it right.
Everyone has to hit a home run.
That's what you said. I love that. Everyone has to hit a home run.
The same at bat.
The same at bat.
Yeah, film's definitely a collective medium. It is a giant collaboration. Which is wonderful and frustrating and all the things when you get a group of people together.
Larry!
But it's really cool. I mean, for myself, creating something, and that can be anything. It can be a joke. It can be creating something as a move you did in basketball or, the perfect pitch or a song or a moment with someone, because it's not just art. Mm-hmm. But creating something gives me the longest, what I want to say, tenure or feeling of satisfaction or fulfillment. Because you can have a connection with someone, you can do, drugs, you can win a race, you can do all these different things that trigger your dopamine and make you feel good. When I create something, I can plant my flag on that. Like, I created something with my life here on earth, and I'm good for months, right? Like, I don't need anything else positive, and for me, people, are connected to all the different things that give them pleasure or a sense of purpose in life. But for me, that's for
me too. When I look back, it's like, when I think of the best days of my life, it's like my book release party. It's like you were there. Like, it was such a feeling of satisfaction to have something inside of me that I spent so much time creating and editing and making and then having it out. And any other thing that I've created, it's like, not everything, but a lot of the things that, you put everything into. You're talking about empathy, and you've talked about the power of acting to create empathy and being able to step into someone else's shoes to forge a connection with the audience. Mm-hmm. We're almost at time, so I'll just kind of leave this as the last thought with people. But what role do you think empathy plays in shaping our shared future on this planet at a time when everything feels like it's up for review or destruction or renewal?
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, part of the reason we were drawn to an anthology at this time, when we felt people were going through a similar experience, is that I think it's Mark Twain's quote that travel is the greatest antidote to prejudice, right? Like, if you introduce someone to someone else, whatever preconceived notions or judgments they have, a lot of that it just kind of flakes off in that moment, right? And not everyone has the opportunity, the privilege to be able to travel. And I think film is a great way to be able to offer someone the gift of empathy, or stepping in someone else's shoes, or experiencing life through another perspective. And so creating these stories back to back, someone is watching a family deal with this conflict in Chile, and then they're in Turkey and Istanbul, and then South Korea and Seoul, and then in the Gambia, and then in Iceland. And you may come in because you're Icelandic, or your cousin is, or you went there on vacation, and you're watching that story. But then right then we pull you out of that story and throw you into Romania, and you're there and you've never been there. Or you might go into a country that you feel at odds with somehow, depending on your politics or your experience. But then you watch a human being from that point of view, I think is a powerful thing and a good thing for people to feel, and offer a chance to be empathetic. On that, we realize the power of these films. The first power and the first thing that we're trying to accomplish is that sense of unity through an adventure around the world, through powerful stories that are entertaining and affect people, and a little bit of the sweet to help the medicine go down. Mm-hmm. A second way that we are using them is through our nonprofit Kindred Films that we spoke about. And we are sharing the films with charities that are aligned with the themes of each film. So the first one, Carl and the Janitor from Denmark, is about a neurodiverse boy who's enjoying an empty school during lockdown and his friendship with the janitor. And we partnered with Doctors Without Borders, their mental health division, and also Project S, a youth mental health organization in Denmark. And in South Africa, we're partnering with ARC and WESA and Global Conservation for some of the wildlife and specifically rhino conservation charities, so they can use these films to engage their supporters and raise funds and awareness around these issues. And the second way is to give them to teachers to screen in the classrooms, circling back to you were talking about my first experience watching a film in a school and how film could be used for good in a way. And so we're working on a program right now where we're showing the films in classrooms here in the States, in South Africa. We are doing a run with Sunshine Cinemas there. And it is a rural solar-powered Land Rover that has a whole film kit where they can go out into a rural community, screen the film to a community that doesn't have access to a theater or even broadband or cell data to watch films, and show them a film about the relationship between a community that is near one of these game ranges where they have these majestic, incredible animals with rhinos and elephants and tigers, and the necessity that we learn about the value of these animals and the relationship with the communities around it so they can support each other. And the people that are focused on animals can also support the community, and the people that are focused on the community can also support the animals. Because I think we're all going to thrive together if we pay attention to one another.
Mm-hmm. So beautiful. So beautiful. I'm really glad that we had the chance to sit down today, and all the people are listening in over 45 countries right now. And I think if we look at the sensationalized stories around, I'm putting air quotes up, Hollywood, there's a lot of storylines going around right now about how it's an evil place or a bad place. And I think it's really beautiful to hear from boots on the ground. Not everyone is good, not everyone is bad. We know that, but it's beautiful to hear about a filmmaker and someone involved in the industry for so long that was on the top stage you can be on for this industry, the Academy Award, the Oscar stage, and be nominated there, and hear that all of the different things that you're doing and all the ways you're using film to make the world a better place. So loved just hearing all of the ways that these different films from your anthology series are going out and being applied. And I'm excited to hear about all the future things that happen as the project continues on. So I appreciate you being here. This is awesome. I love catching up and having these deep conversations with you. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Aubrey. I'm so proud when I watch your journey with this podcast and talking about creating something or building something that is positive, and is adding value to the world, and watching you grow within the podcast and the podcast grow. It's been so cool to see. So continue on that journey. Yeah. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate that. Was really sweet. Yeah. Thanks.
I'm
okay.
honored.
Take care, guys. Talk soon. Peace. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and stay immersed in the infinite drop.